Hello everyone, welcome to the Puff Academy lecture. In this chapter, we're going to use real examples from modules that have already passed FIPS 140-2, CMVP, and CAVP to explore an important lesson. Compliance does not equal immunity. That is, meeting the standard lowers your risk and sets a baseline defense, but your module can still face a wide range of hardware-oriented attacks. Let's directly start from a fun yet tricky topic. Why even FIPS-certified security devices can still have vulnerabilities. We'll take a look at two real examples, Utamako ACE and Yubico YubiKey, both well-known names in hardware security. By the end of this session, you'll understand not just what went wrong, but why certification isn't the end of the story. Starting with Utamako's ACE, also known as the Atala cryptographic subsystem. According to the official NIST CMVP record, Certificate number 3059, this module was validated under FIPS 140-2 Level 3 in November 2017. It's classified as a multi-chip standalone hardware cryptographic module, primarily designed to protect sensitive financial data in payment and transaction systems. The certification indicates that ACS successfully met the Level 3 requirements for tamper resistance, role-based authentication, and physical security, meaning it could detect and respond to unauthorized attempts at access or modification. It also passed testing for cryptographic key management, self-tests, and firmware integrity verification, ensuring that its internal processes remain secure and reliable under various operational conditions. Utamako's ACE wasn't just a compliant product, it represented a fully tested, standards-based module that met the U.S. government's benchmark for high-assurance cryptographic protection. But like all real-world systems, even certified products can have bugs. In July 2019, a company called SSL Corp demonstrated something quite alarming. They were able to hack into Utamako hardware security module, which is FIPS 140-2 Level 3 certified. So, how did this breach occur? The attackers managed to exfiltrate critical information from the internal master backup key, MBK database. Once they had this, SSL Corp was able to decipher all the keys stored within the HSM. This case highlights a crucial point often overlooked. Most HSM attacks today don't happen in a physical setting, directly on the device. Instead, they typically occur on networks or in the cloud. This suggests that while robust hardware is important, the hardware component of the HSM itself might not be the most relevant factor in preventing modern, sophisticated attacks. This shifts our focus from just the device to the broader ecosystem it operates within. This page shows the Utamako incident through the lens of key lifecycle management. The real problem was not that keys were generated incorrectly, but that once they left the HSM, their governance during the later stages of the lifecycle broke down. According to NIST SP 800-57, a key's lifecycle flows through several stages: pre-activation, active, suspended, deactivated, compromised, or destroyed. In the Utamako case, the breach point was the database holding the master backup key. Translated into lifecycle terms, the riskiest points are usually suspended and deactivated. This is where keys may still persist as backup files, snapshots, log indexes, or test databases outside the module boundary. If storage or access control is weak, attackers can retrieve and restore them even though the HSM itself remains intact. That's because when a key is suspended or deactivated, it's typically no longer actively used for encryption or decryption, but it still exists within the system, often for recovery or auditing purposes. The breach in the Utamako HSM case exploited a weakness that allowed information to be exfiltrated from the master backup key database during one of these less active, yet still critical phases. This highlights that even keys not in active use must be protected with the highest level of security, as their inactive states can present unexpected attack vectors. Let's move on to case. Another example on YubiKey, to illustrate how vulnerabilities can arise even in trusted devices. In February 2019, Yubico, a well-respected name in hardware security keys, discovered an internal security issue with some of their YubiKey FIPS series devices. The core problem was that the random values retrieved immediately after the device powered up were not random enough. This directly affected the cryptographic operations that followed, potentially weakening the security provided by the device. Fortunately, this issue was later resolved with a firmware update. So, how did this happen? It wasn't a flaw in the random number generator itself, but rather a code vulnerability. Specifically, after the YubiKey performed its power-up self-tests, the buffer meant for random numbers still contained 80 bits of predictable content left over from these tests. When the device then pulled what it thought were random numbers, it was unknowingly including these predictable bits, compromising the true randomness. This case is a classic example that the problem wasn't the RNG algorithm itself being weak, but a software implementation error, a code vulnerability, that introduced predictability where true randomness was expected. It underscores that even FIPS-certified devices can have subtle flaws that, if exploited, could undermine their security guarantees. It highlights the importance of thorough review of not just the cryptographic algorithms, but also their implementation and the device's entire operational lifecycle. Moving beyond two cases, let's explore other possible attacks on security modules. This slide categorizes various ways attackers can target these critical devices. Understanding these attack vectors is key to building comprehensive security. First, we have software attacks. These are common and include vulnerabilities like buffer overflows, stack smashing attacks, or the introduction of malware through software or firmware updates. These attacks exploit flaws in the module's operating code. Next, physical attacks. As the name suggests, these involve direct interaction with the hardware. Examples include fault injection, which could be a clock or power glitch designed to make the module misbehave. Side-channel analysis, like monitoring power consumption to extract secrets, or outright tampering, such as drilling into the module to probe internal components. Third, lifecycle attacks focus on vulnerabilities throughout a product's lifespan. This can involve an insecure supply chain, where malware is introduced or components are oversupplied to create backdoors. It also includes attacks that compromise device integrity, such as forcing a firmware downgrade to a less secure version. On the right side, we look at communications attack. These involve intercepting, spoofing, or disrupting messages exchanged between the security module and other endpoints or servers. Protecting these communication channels is vital to prevent data leakage or manipulation. Then is weak RNG, or weak random number generation, is a critical vulnerability. If a module's random number generator isn't truly random, it can make cryptographic keys and operations predictable, allowing attackers to guess keys and break encryption. Finally, code vulnerabilities, which can be seen as an overarching category, refers to any flaws in the underlying code that could be exploited. While somewhat overlapping with software attacks, this specifically points to fundamental coding errors that create exploitable weaknesses. By understanding these diverse attack vectors, we can develop more robust defenses for our security modules, moving beyond just cryptographic strength to a more holistic security posture. Thank you for watching Puff Academy lecture.